Okay, we're gonna try to get through this without coughing. I'm gonna see how we go. Hi everyone, it's G here, and I'm here today with the Authortube newbie tag. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you would know that this voice from me is not my regular voice. I did not wake up on New Year's Day with a hangover, but I woke up with a cough. Very convenient. And the reason why I filmed this today, despite the circumstances, is because today is actually one of those days where it is under 30 degrees Celsius here in the midst of an Australian summer. So I'm gonna take advantage because my place usually becomes an oven when I attempt to film on a 30+ degree day. You guys might or might not be aware, but I've actually done this tag before. I actually did this tag around, I would like to say 13 months ago. I think I did it December of 2024, and whilst it was a great time to jumpstart my Authortube journey, and I know some of you guys also might be looking at this channel and thinking, oh, okay, gee, there's like literally barely anything on here besides a bunch of shorts and maybe a couple of long form videos, and that's it. I do actually have another YouTube channel under Author Gianna Jones that initially I rebranded, and I did want to eventually start posting Authortube content on there, but it initially started as a booktube channel, and I saw that some complications could come with that. So I ultimately decided this year that I wanted to branch out and start this new channel, Gianna Jones Writes, where I actually post Authortube content, but also mindset content, pretty much topical videos that don't really have to do with my bookish stuff. Like, as much as I really love combining the two and like presenting the two as options to my audience over there, I realized that I could still do that through collaborative posts to still reach the audience. But I had to accept that over on there, my amazing audience did sign up for a booktube channel specifically. So I decided that I was going to pivot and split up the channels. And honestly, if you are watching this via my original channel, it's great to have you. It's great to have you either way. I'm so thrilled to finally dedicate a channel where I can freely talk about what's going on with my writing and everything and the way that I've been growing. Oh, and there's another reason why. I essentially did my first Authortube newbie tag pretty early in my writing days. Like, I'm talking about within the first like 6 weeks to 2 months of me writing my first book, I did my Authortube newbie tag. It was so much that I didn't know about myself and my process back then. I was still trying to figure it out. And I mean, here I am actually establishing this platform and like what I want to do here and what I would contribute to the community over here. I barely kind of contributed to the community via my original channel, and a big reason why is because I would often see the success of my booktube videos and then my Authortube videos would not do the same. I'm not saying that my Authortube videos are going to have like massive amount of views right off the bat just by starting a new channel, but I did not want to like keep on comparing them on one page. I wanted to actually start with a blank slate so that I could motivate myself to actually open myself up about the author side of me for those who wanted to stay connected. So yeah, pretty much this is a summary. How did you find out about Authortube? Well, this answer is kind of relatively similar to the way that I answered the first time I filmed this. So I found Authortube through booktube, and I'm pretty sure at this point I found Authortube, I would like to say, a better half of a decade ago. I was happy for those who were doing Authortube. Back then, I wasn't really interested in watching planning and organization content and author content like at all, really. I did follow the booktubers that would pivot into Authortube eventually and start to watch their videos every once in a while. Like, one of my favorites, absolute favorites, is Cattytastic. Their videos have helped me so much, especially the 27 chapter method, which I did not look into around the last time I did the Authortube newbie tag. I'm not saying that I found Authortube through Cattytastic, but I mean, honestly, if there's any channel slash channel name that I would have associated with like early Authortube, or at least at that time, it was Cattytastic. In my early 20s, everyone was talking about writing every once in a while on booktube and just like in bookish spaces. A new saying that I've adopted in my life is that life is all about really remembering yourself, remembering who you are. And it's interesting because I actually genuinely feel like I was born to be a writer, but I didn't accept that I was born to be a writer until the age of 29. I'm not saying that out of cockiness. Please don't get me wrong. Okay, the reason why I say it is because when I was younger, I would constantly be called a storyteller. I would be asked by my uncle every single time he saw me, so what's the story? And often I would prepare myself to tell this great elaborate story, or maybe just something that I learned from VeggieTales or something. I had a very big imagination. Over the years, I thought, okay, well, he saw that. He definitely did see that in me, and a lot of people did see that in me. I would just think about different places, different scenarios and stuff, but I would always tell myself that I would never write because I really struggled to read. I grew up with dyslexia. And I mean, I still struggle with that to this day. That's why I use Microsoft Word with the text-to-speech to at least help me with writing my manuscript, and that's why when I'm doing my booktube videos, I don't read the synopses a lot of the time because I'm a little scared to mess it up. But yeah, essentially, I kept on telling myself that I'm a storyteller, but I don't write. And I mean, with those challenges, they can often open up to areas of comparison. And I mean, I'm gonna be honest, when it came to Authortube, I actually only really started watching Authortube consistently recently. Every once in a while I would watch Authortube, like I would put an Authortube video on, but I would often feel a sense of insecurity. I'm opening up about this. I know that's a me problem. It is a me problem. I never needed to feel insecure about watching everybody else's process, but often whenever I would see different Authortube videos pop up on my feed, as much as yes, I did want to support fellow authors, for the longest time I couldn't click on the Authortube videos because I was wondering, what if I see that their process is different than mine, therefore I'm messing up. I'm very pleased to say that I have been doing a lot of inner work within this last year, and by dealing with the cause head on, I've gotten to the point over the last few months where I am finding myself absolutely refreshed by the idea of browsing Authortube and being part of this community and actually opening myself up to starting a new channel. I mean, this entire project of starting a new channel, this is not something that I would have done a few months ago. I would have found this to be absolutely humiliating, thinking, you know, oh my goodness, I have to start again because I started my booktube channel 10 years ago. I'm finally happy and satisfied with the fact that I can be at chapter 1 and someone else can be at chapter 20. That's indication that I can do it too. That is a pretty long-winded answer. I've been on and off Authortube for those reasons. I've been on and off with the idea of writing for those reasons as well. What genres do you write in? So I'm starting off with romantasy. I've written a first draft of a gothic romance. I love the idea of like a good high fantasy romantasy. Like, you know, I love the Bargainer trilogy by Laura Falasa. I love the War of Lost Hearts by Carissa Broadbent, and From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Those book series very much influenced me to go into the high fantasy romantasy direction, even though technically the Bargainer is a portal fantasy. Maybe one day I'll do portal fantasy. But then there are times where I really want to move into a darker, like, gothic direction. Eventually we will get there. I want to strike the balance between the two. So like Carrie Lake, for example, is a big influence for me. I really love Carrie Lake, and the gothic vibes, they've just been hitting me very recently. And yes, getting back to what I was mentioning, I did write a gothic romance standalone first draft, and I really enjoyed doing that, and it made me realize that I wanted more darkness in my main series. I think because I'm dealing with a specific subject matter, I do want to kind of lean into the gothic aesthetic as well. It does also heavily deal with religion, so I could pull that off. At this point, I wouldn't 100% say gothic romantasy unless I find an amazing editor that can help me capture those vibes, because there are times where I'm like, okay, well, I need to add these high fantasy elements and I need to do that, but then oh my goodness, gothic tone. There's a lot that I'm still discovering, even though I've been writing for 15 months at this point. I eventually do want to lean in with a bit more gothic vibes, but at the same time, I plan to write within this high fantasy world, and I can't guarantee that every single series in this high fantasy world will have gothic vibes because it's so expansive. I love gothic vibes, but I guess I've become accustomed to them being a bit more grounded. Yeah, I would like to dabble in that. I don't want to close myself off completely, but those are the genres that I'm currently writing in. I have worked on 4 projects, I mean technically 3 within the same actual series, but then I also did work on the gothic romance standalone that is set within the same world, and I'm planning to set a bunch of my books within the same world if I want to continue to write high fantasy. What is your preferred writing tense, point of view, and category of story? So that could be children's, YA, NA, adult, etc. I like writing in first person point of view. I do like writing scenes, like alternative POV scenes that are third person point of view, that I will eventually have to work with an editor to kind of refine, because there are some scenes that do take place externally from my main characters within my first series that I want to use to expand upon the world. The best way that I could describe it is like I love the Hunger Games series, but within the books we never got the Capital's perspective, and we just so happen to have that in the movies, elevating the storytelling experience, and that is kind of what I want to capture in my story. I still believe that I am meant to write in first person point of view because I deeply connect with my characters. I feel that is the easiest way that I'm able to bleed the words onto the page. But there are some scenes that I do have to write in third person point of view where I am following the villains, or I am following something that does happen on the external, like I am writing a Sleeping Beauty reimagining, so something that is taking place on the waking world as opposed to what is happening through my main character's catabasis. Present tense. And then in terms of age category, I would like to say new adult. My protagonist is 23, 24. I just feel like what she is going through, I would say that a lot of teenagers would go through, but with her specific circumstance, she has developed quite late due to suppression. Yeah, it's a story that really hits hard. I mean, I personally didn't find myself until my late 20s. Maybe I could write a story with someone in their late 20s discovering themselves. Yeah, but overall, I decided that she was 23 or 24 with delays in her development, like at this point. Literally, she's at like square zero from the very beginning, and I want to get her all the way up here by the end of the trilogy. Her development is something I have been looking forward to for the last 15 months. I'm willing to make this whole character development arc happen in the next decade if I have to, because I am so passionate about the story. The story means a lot. But anyway, I've gone on a tangent. But speaking of tangents and going off script, are you a plotter, a pantser, or a planter? When I filmed my video initially, I was like, okay, I think I'm a planter. At this point, I know I'm a planter. I love outlining. I adore the process of the 27 chapter method, like taking at least a month break from writing to outline, just to purely outline and to purely get the story beats right, to get the feedback that I need from Camillo. I love having those conversations. We've done this twice already. We did this with the Gothic Romance Standalone, and we've done this with Project Awakening. Project Awakening being book 2 of the series that I've been working on, my Sleeping Beauty reimagining series. I love the outline phase. The outline phase at this point is my favorite phase of writing. Not necessarily because of the procrastination from writing, but like having the big picture just right in front of you and getting to work on things piece by piece. And you don't always have it figured out by that outlining phase. Like honestly, if I wanted every single detail figured out by the outlining phase, I would spend months, probably a year on the outlining phase just to like make it completely perfect before actually writing. But no, I don't do that. And sometimes I do improvise. Even though I have a full-on outline, there are times where I'm like, that scene would work better here. And then that scene would also work better here. And then that, yeah, no, I think I want to change that. And then maybe, yeah, we figured out this like structure, but I think this makes more sense. Sometimes I can get into trouble. And sometimes I'm like, wait a second. I wrote that in the wrong place, and I improvised too hard in this part, or like I let out too much steam at this part when I shouldn't have, when I should have just stuck to the plan. My planting works more in my favor now that I've done the 27 chapter method, I would say, because at least at the end of the day, I still have a roadmap in the 27 chapter method that I can go back in and I could rejig, refix. But planting for my first 2 projects, for Project Haunted being the first book that I ever worked on as an official author, and the prequel to the Sleeping Beauty series that is actually meant to be read after book 2. This time last year, I decided that in January I was going to write the first draft, and I only got 20k in. That was embarrassing. And a couple of big bad reasons why that didn't work is 1, I didn't adjust to the character voice for following a different character, and 2, I did not outline that story properly. So lots of random planting with that one just did not work. It was very, very, very messy. But I have acknowledged that I am a planter. I often do like to stick to the outline. I do like to remind myself of the pointers that I do have, but then there are times where I do go off script. There are times where something just clicks. There are times where in my meditation I do get a divine idea and then I add that divine idea. I think that you can't be 100% closed off to adding more to your story, but at the same time I do acknowledge both the strengths and the weaknesses of being a planter. Are you self-published, published, or yet to be published? Is there a difference between self-published and published? I think that it should have said self-published, traditionally published, and yet to be published. I'm yet to be published. I need to put this somewhere. I really do need to put this somewhere. I might be yet to be published for some time. And the reason why I say that is because even though I know that technically I could get this book series out immediately into the world and start my author journey from there, like maybe unless of course I work on a different book series. The book series that I'm currently working on now, Project Haunted, Project Awakening, under the Sleeping Beauty umbrella, this series means so much to me that I've kind of accepted that it might take longer for me to actually publish it. This year in particular, 2026, I want to submit it for feedback. So then hopefully soon after that, I can start looking into finding an editor to work with me on this book series. And I also have to acknowledge here that Project Haunted has been written twice, and both times I've not been satisfied with the final product. Well, I mean, technically I can't be satisfied with the final product, but I mean the actual plot structure. It's a very messy book. I like to describe it as a catabasis, you know, like where my main protagonist is going through such a tough refining. She's going through hell. Like, not in the literal sense, but the subconscious sense. And there's so much that I could do with the story. And there's so much that I have done with the story. And it just comes out as like, oh, that's what you decided to do with the story? Really? You have so much room to play with. You have so many fears you can prey upon. Look, there are moments where I'm evil, but I have not been evil enough. I honestly think that it's really important for my protagonist that this book is darker than what I initially wrote it to be. I'll be back. Not every one of you guys have expectations for me. Only maybe the people who have been watching me previously or know that I've been writing for the last year, but maybe, just maybe, I just gotta enjoy the process and not be so hard on myself. I think maybe subconsciously someone is like, TikTok, hurry up, like, and finish your book. And I mean, I would like to say that it's that simple. You know, you've got some authors who publish like every 6 months and everything, and that's incredible and stuff, but a lot of the time when authors do that, they did a lot of planning for the series. Like, it was a long time in the making, and they had help. At this point, it's only really been me, and as of recently, Camillo has joined on as an alpha reader. Eventually, I would like to expand my team, expand, like, outsource, like, to be able to help me and empower me to keep going and to boost momentum. Also, eventually, help me tie things together as well. Where I have blind spots, someone else is able to pick up on those blind spots, even though I've been a little bit scared to be scrutinized. Eventually, that will have to happen. And I mean, maybe there might be a time where I also take a break from this project. I did take a break from this project to write my gothic romance standalone. So if I do feel inclined to take a break from the project that I'm currently working on, my Sleeping Beauty reimagining series, then maybe, just maybe, I might publish something smaller. Who knows? We will see. But that will be a case of learning how to trust my prose, you know? I remember thinking this was a very interesting one. I still have my last year's answer written in here. This is funny. Yeah, I love Notes app. What publishing company, literary agent, or printing company are you represented by or use? If you are not yet published, what is your dream publishing house and or literary agent? Working within the publishing industry for the last 4.5 years, might be 5 this year, let's just say that I know who I don't want to work with. And look, this is not me saying that I don't want to work with any, because I do have a preferred publisher if I was to go traditional for like a specific purpose, if you know what I mean. Okay, so let's just say that I would prefer to go the hybrid publishing model. This tag was made a while back, and like with, like, you know, the whole publishing company and literary agent thing and printing company into consideration, there isn't necessarily a hybrid mention there. But if you guys don't know what a hybrid model is, basically, let's say you give your print rights or your paperback rights or maybe a specific ISBN, you give those rights to a publisher, and then they publish or distribute those books maybe through a third-party client that they are partnered with, a distribution client, so that those books can end up in bookstores. And then I could keep my ebook and audio rights. I would probably want to keep my ebook rights first and foremost. If, like, let's say my audiobooks were picked up by a publisher, that could cover the audio costs. So I am also open to the hybrid model there. Essentially, I would like to have some ownership over my series. At this point, I want to mentally prepare myself to go completely self-published. I think that is a very healthy way to go into publishing, if that makes sense, because you have the expectation of like, okay, I'm gonna start off by assuming that I'm gonna do all this hard work, but maybe success might fall on your lap, and then you realize that you don't have to do as much as you thought that you were going to. That is how I'm looking at it at this point. I am quite detached from the outcome, but overall I want to say if there is anything that I could possibly wish for, I would say a hybrid model where I would maintain the rights to my ebooks. I would love to maintain my rights to some capacity. I would love to take ownership of my story and make the most royalties, at least out of one format, and I believe that ebooks definitely do make a good buck. But if I do want to actually distribute my books in bookstores, I will have to accept the fact that any parties involved in that will have to take a percentage. Now, in terms of literary agents, now what some, maybe majority authors like to do is they like to write their book and then they'll either want to send it straight to a literary agent or they will send it straight to the publishing house, and the publishing house will be like, sorry, you have to submit it through a literary agent first. That is a very common thing. I mean, I've seen way too many customer service emails, got way too many phone calls about that. The policy's on the website, mate. The policy's on the website. I mean, I understand. I completely understand. As an author, I completely understand the frustration. Now, in terms of me, this is very interesting because I think that the idea of shopping around and submitting a manuscript at first also did kind of paralyze me. You hear so much about every single rejection that all of our favorite authors had to face in order to find the right agent. And you know, maybe sometimes they don't get the most satisfactory percentage. Or maybe, like, yes, they found the literary agent, but maybe the publishing house isn't doing the heavy lifting for them and everything. And you know, there's always risk to any choice, but at the end of the day, I think that's why I'm leaning a little bit more into the hybrid model. Now, with literary agents, I wouldn't say like never say never, but a literary agent is not my priority. I have seen authors do it without literary agents. I'm not saying that that is 100% the perfect way to go, because sometimes maybe like even the most successful authors, all of a sudden they're like, oh, like everyone's contacting me, but I didn't have an agent to contact. Sometimes you do actually need that preparation. You do need to work with a literary agent. But I want you guys to remember that Teal Swan does not have a literary agent, and they did not have a literary agent. And they're a 7-figure romance author. And I'm not gonna lie, after hearing their story, that's how I knew that I was not going to let the fear of rejection get in the way from me publishing my book. So, first and foremost, I think my goal is to publish my book. If by any chance I'm either approached by a literary agent, or maybe I might just have a gut feeling about a specific literary agent, or maybe a specific group of literary agents, I might just change my mind completely and then attempt to pursue it, you know? At this point, literary agents, they're not my priority. That's not me canceling them out forever. It's just, at the end of the day, I just want to see this book published in any sort of way. If it doesn't happen in the hybrid way, look, that's just me dreaming out loud. But I would like it to be that way. But I guess this question is really all about like where you could see yourself. And honestly, like, based on everything that I know now, the industry experience and everything, and seeing romantasy authors even through the publisher that I work with get published, what their deals are, what agencies that they work with, all that stuff, etc. Like, I do have some intel. It's maybe come to this conclusion at this point. My mind could be changed, but you know, this is something that I've really thought about for the last year. What Authortube related videos can we expect to find on your channel? If we were talking about last year, it was like majority booktube. I remember when I first filmed my Authortube newbie tag, all I said was like author writing vlogs. Honestly, when I really think about it, like yes, vlog content is very popular on Authortube, but as I've actually started to watch Authortube, I'm actually gonna probably need to bring this out. This is not sponsored, I just had the fan right next to me. I have started to watch Authortube. I've come to realize that even though everything looks like lifestyle and vloggy, a lot of the videos have specific topics. At first, I also was not sure what topics to post and what topics to talk about, and that was purely because I was only writing for a short period of time. There was a lot that I was not comfortable talking about yet. Honestly, something snapped within me when I actually did my year in review on my other channel. Releasing that video and talking about everything gave me the confidence to continue to talk about my personal process and other things that I learned on the way. I do really want to do more topical videos, but I also want to do mindset content. First and foremost, the priority is to reach out to fellow authors, but at the same time, a lot of the mindset work that I've been doing is not necessarily just applicable to authors. And so that's why I've made it very clear, even in my channel banner and everything, and when I talk about this new channel, that as much as it is an Authortube channel, it is also a mindset channel. I also want to do some more like organizational content. I have never actually been a completely organized person, at least not until this last year. Like, honestly, I was so negligent in my early 20s and even in my late 20s. I think that I've only really just started to fix my life as I hit 30, funnily enough. Like, I'm actually sticking to a planner this year, and there are other certain notebooks and certain journals that I'm going to be using and other stationery. So I might do a video where I talk about the stationery that I use and how I use it for my process. Just like some other little nice things that I did not think to post when I had a booktube channel. What was the first story you ever wrote? Oh, okay. I mean, if we're talking about besides book 1, Sleeping Beauty, Project Haunted, my angle is different. It's different because I changed my battery. I illustrated a comic when I was younger titled Preston the Pig. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that. That was really funny. They were all like little Miss Piggies and Mr. Piggies just like going about their lives and stuff. I also had some other comics that I was working on as well. I had a big imagination as a kid. There were just so many ideas I had growing up. I knew had so much potential if I just actually wrote them. It kind of makes me a little bit like sad to think about. But then again, you know, things happen for a reason. With all of that suppressing building up, it definitely bubbled out of me at a rock bottom point, and that's when I started writing my Sleeping Beauty reimagining. Did I think about the Sleeping Beauty reimagining a year before I started writing? No, I didn't. My grand story idea happened in like 2014. I had a story, a concept for like a superhero academy that I really actually wanted to write, and there were some things about that story that really resonated with me at the time, and I really wish that I wrote more and more. I still have like maybe a few playlists that I had for certain characters in that story. Those characters still kind of live in my head, but at the same time, the story is kind of blurry when I really think about it. I think eventually, if I do feel inclined to write a sci-fi superhero academy story, I could. I actually remember that story downloading into my mind the day that I watched Guardians of the Galaxy in cinemas. There's so much about that story that I don't quite remember. Some of the story that I would change, a lot of it I do find a little cringy. It was like YA. There was a lot that I didn't write down about that series. It's honestly fragments. It really feels like a memory. I mean, all of them are memories at this point. Those characters just lived in my head. I loved them. I loved them so much. I honestly think the funniest part about that is that there's like one thing about that story. The villain that I had in that story, I put under like an organization of like, they called it like, I don't know, Project Nero or something. I don't know, I just felt really strongly about Nero back then. I still feel very strongly about Nero and the Roman Empire and that part of the Roman Empire, because even though I was not a fan of history in school, I found Nero very fascinating in like a very, very like disgusting, repulsive way. And now here I am more than 10 years later at this point. I only realized a couple of months ago that my main antagonist is also somewhat inspired by Nero too. Except before then it was just kind of like a code name because of all the fires and stuff. Whereas this is a bit different. This is like extreme, like, discrimination stuff. This series is much more political than what I would have thought up like 10 years ago. Oh my goodness, I skipped over a question. When did you start writing? Okay, so I mean, if we're talking about Preston the Pig, a while back, but if we were to talk about when I officially decided that I was an author, it was the 2nd of October 2024. I do mention it every once in a while, but it was a rock bottom day. I walked through the door teary-eyed, crying, and Camilla was like, "Are you okay? Is everything fine?" I said, "Look, these things happened today. I'm sad, but guess what? I am an author." I was wiping my tears away. I'm like, I am an author, and I started writing my prologue to my Sleeping Beauty story. Did I do the outline process before then? Not really. I did not plan a proper outline for the story before then. I mean, I knew that maybe 3 weeks before writing the book that I knew that I actually wanted to write it eventually, and I was thinking about it in my mind, but I actually just did it one night because I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired of life. And honestly, even though at this point I'm not yet published and there's still a long road ahead of me, my last 15 months as a result, I'm not gonna say all of them have been the happiest months, you know? There were moments where I broke down, and there are moments where I got frustrated with myself and like the whole writing process. Like, I am frustrated at the fact that I am going to have to rewrite the first book a third time, you know? Like, there's frustrating things about it. However, I am so proud of the person that I've become from the day that I decided that I was going to step onto a new timeline. And October 2nd, 2024 was that day for me. I always want to remember it as a very special day. October is just a very special month, you know? It's the anniversary month for my main YouTube channel. It's the month of Halloween. It's my birthday month. Like, October is just the best month of the year. It's also Camilla's birthday month too. What authors have inspired your writing the most? So within the original post, I did mention T.L. Swan, who I mentioned in this video previously. I am so blessed that they came into my life because, funnily enough, they were actually one of the last people to encourage me to start writing before I actually did start writing. I met them a month after my Nana passed away. I remember first going to the professional event that I was to meet them at, and I did not want to go to that professional event. I was sad. I was worn down. At that point, I'm like, there's nothing in life for me. The introduction was hearing their story and them telling their story to a conference. Just seeing that they decided that they were gonna turn their life around and start writing at the age of 41. That made me realize that it was never too late for me. And it was never late for me. And that I could start doing it just before the age of 29. I could actually accept the fact that I, this whole time, was meant to write. And what I love about that story so much is that T.L. Swan also remembered who she was. If you guys don't know, T.L. Swan had outlined a novel in a journal when she was 18, but she never proceeded to write that book until she found it again when she hit rock bottom at the age of 41. She remembered herself, and her successful career unfolded as a result of that. And I think that that is absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely inspiring. And so that is why, yeah, she definitely inspires me. She definitely inspires me to write. I mean, technically, no, I don't write contemporary romance as of yet, and maybe one day I would like to write billionaire romance. Like, there are some times where I'm like, oh yeah, you know, I would like to write corporate romance, but I would like to probably move out of corporate life before I pursue that eventually. Right now, I'm just in my fantasy gig because I want to escape and I want to write fantasy. But in terms of someone who has inspired me a lot, like their personal story has inspired me to keep going, T.L. Swan, for sure. I could also say the same thing about Nevessa Allen. Like, have you guys seen the TikTok that she recently posted? She's like, don't you dare give up on your dreams, because she almost gave up on writing, and then Lights Out came out, and then now, like, she has a whole new level of success. That's incredible. Honestly, I adore success stories like that. It just shows that it is possible for anyone, at any time, at any age, to get there. I also mentioned within my original video that Jennifer L. Armentrout and Laini Taylor are big inspirations. And I mentioned Jennifer L. Armentrout specifically because when I first read From Blood and Ash, I, for the first time, as someone who grew up in religion, don't cry, finally saw myself within a fantasy world. Like, with the From Blood and Ash series and the Flesh and Fire series, I'm not caught up at the moment, but the themes of that book and the character of Poppy and even the character of Castiel and everything, I really found myself heavily relating. Seeing a story like that, I don't know if I can completely articulate this, but seeing a story where you're having someone who has grown up repressed and has grown up with all of their power stripped away from them, and eventually to decide for themselves that they are worthy of love and they are worthy of a better life. It's so beautiful. And I mean, that series played a huge part of my healing. There are other series that did as well, like the Bargainer series as well. Like, I love romantasy for that reason. A lot of the time, romantasies have themes of healing, and that was definitely what inspired me to write my current series. And I would have to say that From Blood and Ash definitely is like a core influence in why I'm writing my Sleeping Beauty reimagining series, as well as the themes that I'm going to explore in every book going forward. I mean, yes, I want my girls to have fun eventually and stuff, but I feel like the characters that I am able to connect with the most are those who started off in a sheltered, repressed environment. And I'm not trying to put them all in like a same situation. It's a good analogy for those who went through a similar situation to what I did. I grew up homeschooled. I grew up in a very religious family. There was a lot of religious trauma to do with the organizations that we were part of. And yeah, that's me being really vague at this point. And I want to add those themes into my story, as well as themes of race and identity based on my racial experience as well. I do think that this series was a stepping stone in the right direction for me, making me decide that I could do it too. Oh yeah, I did mention Laini Taylor, and a big reason why I mentioned Laini Taylor was because Strange the Dreamer was the first like dreamlike book that I read. And also I remember thinking, no, you find those book series, you just kind of wish you had that idea first. I would say that with all of Laini Taylor's books, like I love them so much, or at least those books that I read from Laini Taylor. But I would have to say that Strange the Dreamer actually made me realize that I was obsessed with dreams, and I'm really obsessed with dreams. As I'm researching this novel, I'm like, oh my goodness, like give me more of that, give me more. I want to learn more about dreams and the subconscious and everything. And yeah, I just continue to go down rabbit holes. It's really bad. But an author I decided to add to this list on top of the other authors that I mentioned in my previous Authortube newbie tag was Carrie Lake. Carrie Lake is someone who has really inspired me. I think that Nightshade was one of the last big series that I also read before I started writing as well. It's so beautiful. It's so eerie, but it also, yeah, it's a slow build. It's a very big slow burn in everything. I almost gave up on the series a few times. I think I attempted to read Nightshade like 2 or 3 times before I actually stuck to it and committed to it. It was very dense to start off with, but I thought, wow, this is incredible. It's so rich, it's so compelling, and if she can do it, so can I. I also felt that way with K.F. Breene too. But a big reason why I decided to bring up K.F. Breene out of the blue is because I read their Deliciously Dark Fairy Tale series. That one is a Beauty and the Beast reimagining, and I adore that Beauty and the Beast reimagining, but it was so funny. It was so hilarious. And like, it was a high fantasy series, but it was a high fantasy series done in K.F. Breene style. I mean, that was the first series I read from K.F. Breene, but like, it was very humorous. It didn't take itself too seriously. I mean, times it was very serious, but there were times where it was just really funny. It was so different for the genre. And I thought, okay, well, she could do it. And if she could do it, and if they could do it, if they could do it, and if all these people could do it and find their own voice, find their own story and everything, then so can I. Gee, watch this on a future day. Watch this on a day when you're feeling down, because you're gonna need it. Do you schedule your writing sessions or simply get to writing whenever you can find the time? I would have to say that I schedule my writing sessions at this point. I used to write during my lunch breaks, but now that I'm making more social media content during my lunch breaks, or at least my lunch breaks when I have to go into the office, I am editing my YouTube videos, I am filming them in the morning, or at least now as I'm filming this, I am filming this on holiday. But in terms of my writing, I schedule my writing for weekend mornings. I try to stay on top of it throughout the week if I can. Like, if there are any points where I can just like do a little cozy writing session where I'm adding a few words to my manuscript just so that I can remain in the story, I will do that. But I mostly schedule my writing sessions for Saturday and Sunday mornings, and then from there, like, I'd like to say any day that I'm working from home, I do like the idea of starting to write a little in the morning as well. The schedule for 2026 is not really set. Oh yeah, I know that's really bad. However, I did actually sign up for the follow through fix, which is hosted by Sarah Cannon via Heart Breathings, and I am so excited to dive into this program. Basically, I am going to be matched with an accountability group, and I'm honestly quite curious to see where that is going to take me in my writing. I initially signed up because I really want to dedicate myself to at least getting this book to a stage, my first book, Project Haunted. I want to get it to a stage where it is at least ready for feedback, or at least I'm at a stage where I am not abandoning the project. Like, I'm actually like getting it, priming it as best as I can. I don't need to prime the entire manuscript all at once. Maybe I might do it chapter by chapter. And I know that seems like a side note, but I bring it up because it might affect just how my writing schedule is gonna go. At this point, I do prioritize my weekend writing time, and I do prioritize doing my sprints. Even though as I'm filming this video, I do have to get back to building momentum, but I do have the 3-day 30K for that. Do you type on a computer, typewriter, write out anything by hand, or a blend of those? So initially I wrote here computer and gaming keyboard. That is essentially how I do my writing sessions. If you guys want to know my setup, I mean, you can watch my TikToks. I know, not really aesthetically pleasing. I mean, you might see the shelves and think, oh, that's lovely and stuff, but yeah, that's currently my writing setup, at least from a better angle, I would say. I do use notepads to write notes, I guess. And last but certainly not least, what are you most looking forward to now that you're part of Authortube? And I am so happy to say that my current answer is completely different from the first. Yes, I was excited back then, but I wasn't as excited as I am right now. I think I was definitely more scared when the reality hit me that these videos are gonna have to come up against all of my current booktube content. If I want to make these videos eventually, they're gonna have to be low priority and stuff. But it's different now. I wrote on here, I'm excited for how these videos are going to help me push myself out of my comfort zone and give me something to be proud of. I am excited for the day where I do publish my books and I look at where I was when I first started this channel, or where I was when I first announced to my audience that I started writing and I decided on an author pen name and everything. It's just like the first step. I am just excited to document my early days. Like, I've enjoyed making TikTok content about it. I love making my little like lip sync videos and everything. It's been so fun, like talking about the author struggles without actually having to talk about the author struggles there. But here I actually have the space to go deeper than just like little humorous shorts, you know? I'm so excited to go deeper. I'm so excited to open up more about my process and everything. But I feel like I'm really doing this for myself, on top of finding and connecting with a community of fellow authors. But I also do want to preface it all by saying this is a note to future self, because I do get caught up. I love getting caught up in like social media content and everything and procrastination and stuff. But future G, listen up. If this does get in the way of your writing, prioritize your writing. Okay? Unless, of course, I feel the need to grow this platform further beyond what I'm actually writing. I think that building the platform, having the goal to build the platform is also very important. But first and foremost goal, G, are you listening? Future G, are you listening? Is to get your writing done. Is to get your revision done. To send it off to feedback, and maybe you'll get some content out of that. So I guess that's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to stay to the end of the video, leave me the book stack emoji, because books, am I right? And if you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social medias. I'm at author Gianna Jones on TikTok and Instagram if you want to follow me there for some more bookish content. And if you're just now seeing my face today and you're looking for some longer form bookish content, then I do have another channel, which is at author Gianna Jones here on YouTube. And finally, if you would like to support me on my writing and publishing journey, down in the description below or via QR code on screen are links to where you can donate to my author fund via GoFundMe. Thank you so much, it has been a pleasure, and until next time, remember how awesome you are.